the other person could have, let's say, a red mark or a scratch. Hey everybody, this is David Kohlmeyer, the Problem Solver. How is everyone doing today? Every single Thursday, 4:30, we go live to talk about problems in the community, whatever's going on, national as well, United States, New York City, we're going to talk about today. I'm the Problem Solver, retired police officer of 17 years. I'm always here to help people in general as the Problem Solver, using my background and experience to go above and beyond to help people in the community. It's what I do. I've been doing it in uniform, now not in uniform, and I'm here to help people in the community. Otherwise, today I have my lovely co-host, Beja. Thanks, Beja, for joining again.
Thank you.
And then we have Danny Miner, who is a retired police officer, 27 years, been on the show before. Danny, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you for inviting me. I was so excited when you called me this morning.
So I thought there were some great topics that were going on, through locally in New York. And I felt maybe this is a good time to bring Danny on because I know he loves getting involved into politics and speaking about what's going on and using his expertise. So I felt, hey, Danny, come on the show. So thanks for being so ready to go.
Ready to go.
So like I said, every single week we're trying to bring on either whether it's experts or different people, whether it's a politician or activist, a teacher we talked about.
Right.
Recently, some people were getting arrested for in the daycare places getting arrested. So we had like a daycare person on there talking about like what you should look for daycare. So just different topics. And the people out there, the different viewers, if there's certain topics or experts that you want us to bring on to talk about it, this is a good time to let us know. And 702-999-1111 is the number for the Problem Solver. So anyway, today I wanted to start talking about this active shooter situation in New York City in the subway. And let's just jump into it. Danny, tell us a little bit, give us a little bit of the intel. I've been watching the news. Tell us what took place in New York City in the subway.
Okay. Dave, first of all, I just want to tell you a little bit about my background. I've actually taught active shooter training for like 15 years. And I didn't teach it to cops. I actually taught it to ordinary citizens how to survive one of these active shooters if you're caught in one of these. So I taught this for, honestly, 15 years. And then when I retired, I taught for a while. I taught my seminar. People hired me to go to their companies and everything and to teach it.
It's good to
So, yeah. So when I saw this shooting on the subway, the one thing I want to say, Dave, is these active shooters, they plan these incidents. He didn't just say today, hey, I'm going to go do this. Okay? They plan it for months at a time. The Columbine kids They actually planned it for 2 years. The Virginia Tech shooting, he planned it for 6 months. So I would assume this guy's been planning this for a long time. If you check out his social media, he threatened people on his social media, which I'm very shocked that no one ever reported him or they didn't take anything down, because he did. There was red flags, I should say, that he was definitely thinking of doing something. So he planned this attack. Now he also got a storage area where he was having ammunition and guns and stuff like that. The thing that shocks me is the cameras were off in the subway when he did this. And he also had smoke bombs with him too. Did you know the cameras were off?
Well, they were saying one of the jokes was on TV was that like nothing really works in the subway system, and then the MTA, which is the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, I actually was an MTA cop in New York City for about 9 months during 9/11. One of the jokes was that why would the cameras be working if nothing else works in the subway system? So my question is whether or not he had something to do with it. Did he have any type of engineering background or construction? I know he was wearing a construction getup. I wasn't sure the story with that.
Set it up in the
I mean, did he cut the wires? I mean, did he do something? What do you think?
It doesn't say that he did that. I did look. He did have a bulletproof vest on when he did this. A lot of the shooters do. But here's the thing. What I seen different than him, a lot of the active shooters, and I've studied this. Believe me when I've studied this for years. They usually know this is the last day on earth for them, and they're okay with it. They know the cops are probably going to kill them or they're going to kill themselves. This guy was different. He escaped. Usually they don't. Active shooters usually kill themselves or they know the cops are going to kill them. He actually got off the train and went right on another train, took that train out of there. It's unbelievable that he was able to leave that scene and not get caught in New York City. It's shocking. It really is.
Well, so I grew up in New York City. I was a cop there for 17 years, right? So I worked MTA police, which was, it's kind of interesting with New York City. MTA police basically does the policing of the railroads, which is really above ground, even though it goes into Grand Central and to Penn Station, the major terminals. But the subway is actually patrolled by New York City police. It used to be transit back in the day. It used to be separate.
I remember
There used to be like New York City police, and there used to be New York City police transit, and there was housing. They all merged together. Problem with it is a lot of times the radios don't work so well. The police radios inside the subway, which when you go to the subway, basically you're not really having communication above ground unless you were a transit cop that have like these better radios, probably with these what do you call those? I was going to say beeper. There's certain antennas,
Right.
that they have a better antenna system. So when you go down into the subway system, like it's very hard to communicate, especially how deep that you go.
Right.
So anyway, it's a problem. What do you say, Beja?
I was going to say, people operating the machinery, how do they keep in communication? Isn't that something?
It's a better system that they have if you work for transit, but
They
cell
wouldn't
phones don't
try
probably
to-
work as well. And
Right.
They wouldn't try to make that easier between them and.
the problem is,
The
it's really.
responders,
If you ever
or-
been, have you ever been in the New York City subway at all? No, we have to send her to New York City subway, see if she makes
It's
it
a
out.
disaster.
I mean,
It's a
basically, it's
disaster.
like it's kind of like whatever happens
I
happens.
guess my question is, what would you have done, or what do you think would make that better to be like aware or maybe like prevent things like that from happening?
So if you were down there, what would you do?
Yeah, what would you do?
Here's the thing. The first thing I would do, I always think of if I was the chief of police, okay? If I was the chief of police of Vegas, what would I do? What would I do if I was New York City? First of all, for him to do a shooting on the subway and no cop intervening, right away, there's not enough police presence. So right away, and if you go back, I don't want to bring politics into this, but I will. AOC, months ago said that people get nervous when they see the cops on the subway. They're scared of them. Come on, that's ridiculous, okay? She said that now you have no cops on the subway and something like this happens. This guy shot 10 people and 29 people were injured and no cop was there?
At all.
No cop was there on a New York City subway. That's ridiculous. Again, we're going to this, you need police presence. Police presence stops 90% of the crime, police presence. And same thing with Las Vegas. I say this, if you viewed one of my TikToks this week, Las Vegas does not have enough police presence on the Strip, I believe. Police presence is huge. It deters crime.
It'd be interesting just to go back in time a little bit to see where policing was taking place in that subway at that point in time.
Right.
Because that is kind of a prominent spot in Brooklyn. It's not what I would call like more of an urban community where you would say maybe there's not enough policing that's
Right.
in the area. But it'd be interesting just to see where cops were at the time.
Yeah.
But the subway system is just so large. Even though they're supposed to patrol, they used to call them kind of a transit patrol in general where they're going up and down
Right.
in the subways and coming on and off.
Right.
But in this situation, what's different is I don't think I've ever heard of like smoke like that and someone shooting in the subway. So like what would be like tips for people in the future? I mean, technically, right, it's always like drop and roll when there's smoke.
Yeah.
So in that situation, I think that if anybody that was getting low and down probably would be in a safer position.
Yes.
Just because of the smoke, and then if someone's shooting,
Right.
most likely if you're going to be a low level or hiding, behind chairs or
Right.
what they call cover, which is anything of a hard object. What's your take on that? So imagine you were there. Imagine you weren't a cop. You're a regular person. What would be things that a regular person should be doing?
This is exactly what I'm glad you asked me this. Here's the thing. Anywhere you go, okay, you go to work every day, wherever you go, when you get there, and it's a scary thing to think about, but you should always try to find an escape route. Wherever you are. Right now, this is a new building for me to come in. It's only my second time. I should be looking where the exits are. So if something happens out front, where do I go? Do I leave this way? The quickest way out, you should always plan. So the number one thing is, you hear the gunshots, what do people usually do? Oh, I heard something. Wonder what that was. And you start going to look where it's at. You should be immediately escaping if you can. If you can't escape, a scary thing that you're gonna do is you gotta hide. You gotta hide. So if you can't escape, even if you hide for 5-10 minutes, ever since the Columbine incidents, the police are coming and they're going right in. Because if you go back to the Columbine incident, the police didn't know any better. They stood out to Columbine High School with a megaphone saying, "Come out with your hands up. We have the police surrounded," and people were getting killed. Since the Columbine incident, the police, even if it's one cop, they're immediately going in to confront the suspect. They're going to get in a shootout with the suspect. We are trained for that. I was trained for that for years. Dave's been trained for it. You immediately go after the suspect. So hiding, even if you hide for 10 minutes, that's 10 minutes for the police to get there. Hide if you can. Escape's the number one thing. The third thing, and I'm not afraid to tell people, is you got to fight for your life. It may come down that you have to fight for your life. You may have to attack the shooter. If you have no choice and you attack in a group, one person, not so much. 5 of us on one guy, even if he has a gun, there's a chance to take him down. So the first thing is run, hide, and fight. That's the 3 things. Run, hide, and fight. In the subway incident, I'd have been getting off that subway as quick as I can. And if he's setting off smoke bombs, he's doing that just as so people couldn't see what they were doing. You know what I mean? That's what he's doing. The Columbine kids actually set off bombs.
You know, it's crazy. I'm just looking a little bit online that, I think the reason why he did the smoke was, one, it's a great way to get away.
Yep.
Right. And plus, if he's wearing this construction outfit, yellow, whatever like that, it's easy for him to look like he's doing construction or he's working on the subway.
Right.
And then I think he had a smoke. What do you call it? He had he donned a gas mask,
yes.
right? And then so it was easy for him to get off and to find the right location.
Right.
People may not think he's police or that he works for MTA. Like he kind of looked like an MTA.
They don't know what's going on.
I would think that he looked like an MTA guy, walking around construction or whatever. But and then he jumps onto the other subway, which it's kind of be interesting to know. Maybe he lucked out in regards to that subway being right there at the same time. Or did he plan it out? Because sometimes they go every 7 to 10 minutes. I was never a subway guy. So to me, people know it's 5 minutes or 7 minutes or comes in every 12 minutes. People really knew. Most of the time they would say, 2 blocks to your right. And then,
right.
Hopefully they took them to the right direction. But in the most part, some people that ride the subways, they really know. So I wonder if he really knew the timing of the subway, because trains are different than subways. Subways are different.
Okay.
So anyway, what did he have in his bag? He had, was other items that he was going to detonate? Were they explosives or what were they?
I believe he did have some explosives in his bag.
Mm-hmm.
They did when they searched his. Oh my gosh, I can't think of it. Where he stored everything, his storage space. They found more weapons, some more ammunition. So he was looking for a long battle. Dave, getting back to if you said did he plan to train?
Mm-hmm.
What active shooters do? They use creatures of habit against us. We're all creatures of habit. We almost do the same thing every day. You probably pulled into the same parking spot you did as every time you come here. It's just creatures of habit. We do it. We pull in the same parking spot. We come at the same times. We leave at the same times. We go to the same store to get coffee. And they use creatures of habit against us. In the Virginia Tech shooting, he watched the building for 6 months before he hit it. And he knew between 9 and 9:10, there was nobody in the hallways. They were in class. And he had 10 minutes, and he actually put chains on all the doors and locked everybody in so they couldn't escape. So I'm assuming he did the same thing. He knew when the other train was coming. He knew how long the incident would take him, and he could hop on the other train. They use creatures of habit against us. We're all creatures of habit. We do the same thing.
I love the question that you asked earlier, Dave, because we all need to know what to do in case that we're in that situation. But let's rewind a little bit. The red flags that you were talking about and the comments that you're surprised that nobody brought up about him even making on Facebook, you said?
Yeah, social
media.
Yeah.
Now, what should we be doing? Who can we report to when we see those kind of comments or red flags? That's
a great question. And I usually always brought this up in my seminar. Here's the thing. Usually, I always refer back to work. This wasn't a work incident, but a lot of these active shooter incidents are work incidents, okay? You got to look for a change in behavior in people. Mm-hmm. People don't change their behavior unless something's going wrong. Like, say Dave worked for me, right? Dave's a great employee. He's on time all the time. He never calls off sick. And all of a sudden, for 3 years, Dave's on time, never calls off sick. Now, Dave's calling off sick. He's coming in late. He's leaving early. There's a change in Dave's behavior. There's a reason for that. Could be drugs, could be mental health, could be alcohol, could be a divorce, could be anything. You got to look for change in behaviors in people, and you have to report it. Now, him just making some threats on social media, me as a cop detective, I used to get these all the time. He might not have went as far enough that we could arrest him, but it's something that puts our target on him. We could start looking at him. Did he rent a storage space? Is he buying guns? Is he buying ammunition? So if you give me that fuel that I could start looking into things by reporting him, that's how crimes are solved. That's how these incidents are stopped. It's by people reporting other people.
By the way, this is kind of an interesting fact. Most major terrorist attacks and active shooters and things, we really need to go back and look at the time situation. But most major things that take place, I'm not sure if you know, always happen more in the morning. So this shooting, if you just to give you a little bit of an interesting perspective.
Thank you, by the way.
The shooting actually took place, I think it says here at 8:24 in the morning. The first tower 9/11 that was hit was at 8:46 in the morning. So they always say that a day shift cop, like it's more of a major situation than it is a swing shift or a graveyard officer. So I will say, if we look back in time, most of these things happen early morning. I even think for the first, because they're catching you off guard in the morning, right? Everyone's going to work, or there's more people, there's more mass casualties, right?
Yes.
So one of the problems is that most people are trying to do when they're in the early mornings. Isn't that kind of weird? If you think about 824, and the first tower was 846. I'll look up the first terrorist attack as well on the Twin Towers back in the day. But they're all morning situations. So in the morning, you have to be more cognizant of your surroundings, because I think more of these active shooters and major terrorist attacks happen in the morning hours.
Right.
I think because people are going to work, right? Think about it.
Right.
The train's got to be full at 8:26 in the morning.
Right.
People try to get to work at 8:30 or 9 in the morning.
Right.
And I'm guessing that they just want to hurt as many people as they can. So
Right.
the more traffic there is.
Right. They think, and this is a sick thing to say, but I'm telling you, I've studied them. They think this is going to make them famous. Mm-hmm. They know for the rest of
their... They want to go down in history as a legend or something.
And if you look at the Virginia Tech incident was the highest. They had 32 people killed in Virginia Tech until Vegas. Mm-hmm. Vegas beat Virginia Tech. So Vegas is the biggest mass shooting ever in the history of America. Mm-hmm. And these people, they want to beat the next active shooter because the more people to kill, they believe they're going to be more famous. And honestly, you think about it, we're still talking about them today, and that's what they want. They want years from now, you're still talking about them. They think they're going to be somebody famous. That's why they do this.
But the point is, they are going to do it between the hours that there are a lot of people out and about, traffic, whatever.
Exactly. The more casualties, the more famous they believe they're going to be. And they train for this. They practice. The Columbine kids practiced. They practice shooting. They practice with the bombs. As sick as it sounds, they want to be successful. That's why they do it.
Mm-hmm. Beja, what are your thoughts if you were on the subway? Like, what are your thoughts if this happened? You saw some smoke. What would you be thinking? What do you think that you would do?
Put
yourself in that situation.
Honestly, which is crazy because I have been in a lot of situations growing up where I don't have to get all in specific, but my first thing is find an exit, run, and that's it. So I would just find the nearest exit.
Do you think you would have dropped
I
to the
wouldn't
floor?
run where everybody else was running either.
Right.
There's too much. There's too much going on there.
Do you think you would have dropped to the floor? Because we always, as kids, we always taught about the drop and roll.
Yeah.
If you see smoke, would you be crawling? Would you be running?
Honestly, probably a little bit of both, but definitely not getting on the floor.
Right.
I don't know. I would.
It sticks in my head.
It's kind of crazy.
Kid, you
like
know?
I wasn't expecting this question, but
I actually think.
But it's hard. Now those bombs that he set off, were there like tear gas, like?
They said they were actually smoke grenades.
Yeah,
just smoke grenades. Now that's totally different.
Yeah.
Okay.
The bottom line is a bunch of smoke. I think most people were thinking something's wrong with the subway, something's on fire.
Right.
They're not thinking. I guess I wonder. It'll be interesting.
But they're not hearing the shots.
No, I mean it could.
Yes.
There could be a little bit of a noise.
Yeah.
It depends what type of smoke grenade it is, if it's loud. But there are smoke things that just smoke comes out of it. But I think most people thought something's wrong with the subway. There's a fire or something going on.
Right.
It'd be interesting. I'm sure. I think this guy, if he gets interviewed, I think he'll explain his whole story. Real quickly, did you see that the social media that he had? What was he? He was complaining about stuff about. Did you see any of that stuff?
He was just saying they wanted to kill people and people deserve to die and stuff like that. That's what I saw on the news today.
I guess the biggest thing when it comes down to is, I'm going to look real quickly, is that, people know people. They always say, see something, say something, right? Like to call the police, 911. The problem is that if you think someone is going to be a problem, like a terrorist attack and so on, like you want to call the police, the question is, did anyone observe this, or did the police were following him or tracking him, or
right.
or did they see some of his negative tone that was on social media? That's a good question to find out. But there's a lot of people that are out there that talk negative stuff. I mean, there's a lot of people to follow if you're going to start, especially with mental illness.
And but I don't know where do you report that is what I'm trying to say. Like on Facebook, I know that you can, spam it, you can report it if it's inappropriate or whatever, but if you're really concerned at what they're commenting, okay, the police.
Yeah, the police. Now, they said the FBI, they interviewed the FBI, and he was not on their radar at all. So nobody reported him for anything.
Okay, so that's one thing that we need to change.
Yes.
Yeah. Here it basically just says experts have been combing through his apparent social media presence. Suspect in Brooklyn subway shootings, they found elements of extremist ideologies and conspiracy theories. I mean, in some regards, I think you got the question. It's a lot of personnel. You start following people with extremist ideology. I mean, the question, if the FBI basically has a map in Brooklyn, they probably have like 100 red dots of people that basically,
Right.
in Brooklyn alone,
Right.
that are basically, that could be mentioning some type of extremist, comments.
Have
Right.
they interviewed his neighbors or anybody that's close to him, anybody who knew him?
I'm sure, I know things are preliminary in general, but
Or
at
is it
least
still
they,
very new?
at least they got the guy, and he called Crime Stoppers on himself. He's
Yes.
at McDonald's.
Yes.
So I guess he gets the reward money for Crime Stoppers.
I'm just saying that goes into it. If they're going to interview their neighbors and stuff like that,
Yeah.
that's something that their neighbors need to be aware of too. If somebody's acting strange or if they're bringing things that you don't see normal.
So every city, basically, the subways, or so we're in Vegas right now. So what are your thoughts? Do you think that we're prepared? People, most of our listeners probably are in Vegas. What are your thoughts? Are we prepared in Vegas? Like on the Strip, or
No.
something happens? Tell
No.
me your thoughts about Vegas.
I did a TikTok this week or last week on Vegas when the police officer from out of the area was killed on the Strip. So I did a whole TikTok. They have horrible police presence on the Strip. I can't believe the police presence. The Strip is Vegas's biggest moneymaker, and you don't have any cops on the Strip? I mean, that don't even make sense to me.
They used to
as
always have
someone.
cops. They used to
I know.
always.
I mean, you walk, there should be a cop in front of every casino. There should be a cop walking the parking garages. This what makes Vegas. This what brings our money, and we have crime on the Strip. It should never happen. There should be cops on that Strip all over the place, and there's not. I don't get it. I I never see a cop on the Strip. Never.
The parking garages is a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, all these incidents. That lady was killed over the holidays. Remember, she at the Fashion Show Mall. She was murdered for her purse in the parking lot at a Fashion Show Mall. It was New Year's. Yeah, we don't have police presence. I don't get it. Now we have, the sheriff is running for governor. But I mean, my first question, and I'm a Republican, my first question to the sheriff would be, where's the police presence on the Strip? Where is it? There is none. You have no police presence on the Strip. The crime is going up on the Strip, and you aren't putting any more cops on the Strip. It don't make sense to me. It just don't.
Back in the day when I was on the Strip more, when I didn't have 3 kids, I felt that I saw the cops more in general. I just think things are more violent these days. Things are a little bit unusual and weird and awkward for some reason. I don't know if it's in the water these days, but I just think there needs to be more police presence. I agree. I like to actually have, there's 2 or 3 people running for sheriff. I want them to come on the show. All of us would be good to interview them, and
Right.
see what they say in regards to it. I'm sure they will, like most people say, yeah, we need more cops, right, in general. I
Right.
think the problem is these days it's hard for them to find police officers. It's not even that we need more cops. I think they know that. It's just they're having a hard time finding police officers that want to be police officers because of the negative connotation about being a cop these days, that they think everyone's a killer.
Right.
Another thing that came to mind, especially about New Year's, is there was another man that was shot, and I believe he did pass away. Was after I think it was at the Palace Station, and he had a big win, and these 2 guys followed him up to his room and stole him.
Oh my
stole from him.
gosh.
Yes. Do you think that should be another thing too, like maybe security escorting somebody who has a big win just because they know that things like that might happen? I mean,
I can't believe
I don't know.
I agree with you. The security in the casinos are horrible. Even after the Vegas incident, they're horrible. You could just walk up to your room. Nobody's asking you for a key. No, I can't believe after the worst incident in the United States of America history, we still don't have good security in these casinos. It's crazy. You can walk up to anybody's room. Nobody's checking your key. Nobody's doing anything. That's craziness, Dave. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, things are definitely. Things out of my hand. Actually, in LA, I'm not sure if you've seen that. A lot of people there's a bunch of gangs that are literally physically taking their car and driving their car into them to get them, to cause an accident,
Right.
and then robbing them of their watch or their purse.
Right.
Things are getting more. They're getting more bold, and which I don't know why they've given away this free money from the
because
government.
there's no police on,
Yes.
because there's nobody around. That's why they feel like they can do that.
I don't know if you saw the news in Santa Monica. There's a section of Santa Monica now. The Postal Service will not deliver the mail there anymore because of how many times they were robbed, assaulted. The postal guys, your mailman can't deliver the mail. When do you say, oh my God, this might be a problem? The mailman can't deliver the mail. I mean, how bad does California have to get before they
them to
realize it's a
realize.
problem? I mean,
Exactly.
It's crazy. Okay, and the Strip's going to get like that, Dave, and you know that. People want to come to Vegas. They love Vegas. This is a great place to come. I used to come. But if crime gets out of control, it will stop people from coming. And they have to protect that.
So one of the things I actually feel, we've had him on the show before, I believe more private security is necessary. I actually am very impressed. There's one company in town here called Protective Force International. Jonathan Alvarez is the main person that runs the company, but it's private security. But I'm very impressed with them for the fact that they look like police. They look good in general. They act very confident. They're equipped. They also have canine. You know what I'm saying? I just think that more private security like Protective Force International needs to be out there more because there's not enough police officers. And maybe for whatever reason, security, whether it's part-time or full-time, it's a different type of job, even though it is law enforcement related, of course. I think that more presence is needed at all the casinos. So I actually really do believe that if you have a good security company, because it can get expensive with hiring the police if you're a casino,
right?
Hiring the hourly wage, and fortunately security is a little bit less. So you can get more officers, but now these days, like this Protective Force International, they have canine units, that basically go out in the community. So I think that we need, if you can't afford police because they're more expensive for their contracted hourly rate, I think that you need to have private security because you need to make a difference, and you want to make sure it's safe in the casino. Because if it's not safe, I don't want to go there, right? You don't want to go with your family or your kids at any location. It could be in Vegas, we have Tivoli Village or different places that you want to feel safe going, and that's why we go there. If we feel it's unsafe, even a mall, maybe in more of the urban area or more of the older area, if you don't feel safe going there because the shooting happened, you don't want to go there, right? You're like kind of like, hey, let me go to this other area because I think it's safer.
Right.
You don't want to get robbed, you don't get burglarized. Paige, what are your thoughts? You're nodding your head. Tell me what your thoughts are.
It's crazy.
Do you not go to certain areas because of crime?
You know what? It's disappointing that here we are again having the same conversation because so many of these scenarios and so many tragic things that have happened. If there was just more police there, if there was just somebody watching out, if there was just somebody who would have said something, it's the same. Excuse my language. I'm not even gonna say it. It's the same thing.
So it's the same poop.
This is a podcast. You can curse.
Seriously,
I think
on the podcast, you go for it. You can say poop. It's very ladylike. You could say it's the same poop all the time. It's like the poop emoji. Well, here's something interesting. Everyone talks about we need to get rid of guns. So in his situation, he's never been arrested for a felony. This particular guy in New York City, and then he bought a gun legally. I think it was Carolina or somewhere, in general. But he didn't have a felony, so he did have a gun. So he was like, "Oh, we got to get rid of guns. Got to get rid of guns." Sad to say, also in Vegas the other day, I was actually on Channel 8 today talking about gun violence. There was a 14-year-old brother that shot a 10-year-old brother. I don't know the whole situation. Sounds like a normal family. I don't know why they would have a gun in the home, which you're allowed to have a gun, right? But I don't know if there was any law enforcement or security where you may say, oh, that's why there was a gun. But everyone, it's the Wild West out here. Everyone has a gun anyway.
Right.
But it'd be interesting to know what those people do in their home. And maybe it was just the gun was for self-defense and the gun should have been in a lockbox or a safe. So we need to be careful no matter where we are, even in our own homes, about guns.
I agree.
But then again, if there was a cop on that subway or security that had a firearm in New York City, or even out here, if there was police or private security where the New York was, where that off-duty cop got shot. Like I wonder if he didn't have his gun with him.
Right.
We just got to be very careful and aware of our surroundings, and we need to be careful. But like I said, I mean, people talk about guns and whether or not we should have guns or ban them. The bottom line is that we at this point in time we need them to protect ourselves, against people that are bad people that may have guns. But we still need to follow some safety tips, especially that our children don't get shot and killed by another family member or they're playing with the gun. So we need to be careful.
The laws being a little different.
Yeah.
Than obtaining one.
I think, and I am pro gun, and I only own 2 guns, but I agree with you. I see no problem. I believe you need to take a safety course. I do, to protect your kids. Mm-hmm. I mean, I when I was a cop, I would actually put my gun away before I walked in the door. I had a little lock that I locked my gun up before I even got in the door because I was always afraid, dinner was made. I'd put my gun somewhere and my kids would find it because you just lost time. Mm-hmm. So I would lock my gun up before I got home. I have my 2 guns locked up right now. Anybody should have their guns locked up. Right. The other thing is, and Dave, you know this, you should also put your gun and your bullets somewhere separate. So if your kids do find a gun, they would need the bullets and find the bullets. So you should have the bullets, the ammunition, and the gun separate.
But what's your thoughts, though? Like, if something happens and you're burglarized, I understand the safety factor. But what are your thoughts?
I know. If somebody had to come in your house, I know.
I like those lock boxes that, the number code.
Yeah.
And it's right by your bed or something like that. But some people would say that you're crazy because if something happens, by the time you find the ammo or the magazine,
or the little ones that you just pick up and put in their car and then somehow.
I think that the lockbox, with your number code or your fingers, it's got more advanced with the biometric these days.
Right.
I think that's what you need to make sure that your home is safe. God forbid something happens. And like I said, I mean, it's these are unusual times, but in the situation in New York City, this guy legally was allowed to have a gun. Problem is, sometimes mental health, even though you bought a gun 10 years ago, who knows if this guy has mental health issues or extremists, that changes things up. So I don't know. You mentioned there should be different laws. Not that you know all the laws. I don't even know all the laws. People always talk about, when buying a gun, and there's different loopholes. What's your take on that? What's your thoughts with that?
I think we do the background check. I just bought a gun. I'll be honest with you, I bought another gun when the pandemic first happened because I got nervous. I thought crime
happened or within, because the price has changed a lot.
Well, as soon as they
kind of made it difficult.
As soon as they sent us home, and I thought people were going to be out of work, I'll be honest with you, I bought a gun to protect my house. Okay, and I went to Sportsman Warehouse, and it took a day. They did my background. They called me the next day and I came in and got my gun, after they did the background. Good. I see no problem doing the background check. I do agree with you that if you do have a mental health incident, how when we were cops, I don't know what they call it out here, but back home they called it a 302 commitment. Did you have that?
Here it's called a legal 2000.
Okay. We would call it a 302. Like
it's a form number, right?
If you said that you wanted to commit suicide or something, I had the legal right to take you in custody and take you to mental health. Okay. I think after a mental health incident, maybe you should have to reevaluate before you can buy a gun.
I agree.
That's my opinion.
But even if you've been in a domestic, that's a law now, right?
Yes.
You can.
They could take your guns.
Okay.
If you're guilty of domestic battery, then you cannot own a firearm, and you can't even be a police officer or any job that has a firearm.
Okay.
That's why.
And then mental health is not a law right now, or
it's
not.
If you go through mental health issues, and I think that you had a mental health issue, I believe they do notify the state, and you cannot get a gun.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know if I don't know what it is to get it back. I've heard that before because I have someone that works in a gun store, and they've mentioned that before. But if it's called a legal 2000, I believe it's the form is a legal 2000 form. And if you're like a nurse or a doctor or psychiatrist or a police officer, you fill it out. Normally it's a 48-hour hold. And then from there, but there is a freeze that you can't buy a gun. But these days, I just find it's very easy, at least in this state, to buy a gun.
I think in this state, I could be wrong, but I think if you have a marijuana card, a medical marijuana card, you can't have a gun.
I forgot.
I was just going to ask. My next question was going to be drugs.
But now you answered this. This kind of gets my blood flowing because I'm thinking to myself, there's people that drink every single day and they can carry a gun, but a person that does marijuana can't.
Right.
Like, it makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
That a guy could drink
I understand the
every day.
background from that.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't get it, because I think all three of us would agree. Well, I'm not sure, but alcohol is worse than marijuana. By far, but people don't realize that because they made marijuana look so bad over these years. But alcohol is way worse than marijuana. As a cop, I'd have dealt with somebody on marijuana way more than I dealt with somebody on alcohol.
You're not having a raging person that's high.
No, nobody's going to fight you. Nobody's going to resist arrest on marijuana. Yeah. They're going to ask you to buy them a bag of chips.
Yeah.
So,
like, bro, just give me my gun back. Can I just
By the way, I think it changed because when you had the marijuana card, I don't think you were able to get a gun.
Right.
But now marijuana is
recreational.
Legal recreational, right?
But I think if you have a marijuana card, they believe you take it every day.
Prescription.
So they won't let you get a gun. I'm 99% sure on that, but not 100%.
I'm going to find out about that. So,
yeah.
But the funny thing about it is it's legal. So why would you have the card? I guess because it's federal. Right? If you have them, but it's state-wise.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have the card, I don't think
just being under the influence.
Yeah, they think you're always under.
You shoot better if you're under the influence, no? I don't know.
Do you, Dave?
No, I don't. I don't smoke. People always say, like, if I smoke a little bit of marijuana, I think I drive better. I was like, I don't smoke marijuana. I don't really know. It doesn't seem right. Like, I don't think you're driving better. You may think you're driving better.
They're actually putting
I'm driving right now.
This will be another topic, but they're putting in marijuana lounges now. I just saw that in the news tonight.
I love that.
Yeah, they're putting in marijuana lounges.
Cool.
Well, what happens is because you can't smoke publicly,
right.
They're making like I've heard this before that they make a lot of karaoke lounges.
Yeah,
where it's
like you can't grow your own, but you can go to a dispensary and get some.
Well, the karaoke means that when you close the door, it's a private space. You're renting that to be your private space, so you could smoke.
All right.
But I think that I passed by some store recently and it said something lounge. They're also trying to buy like hotels to make it a like a 420 friendly.
Yeah.
So the whole hotel can smoke because it's private.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. I kind of feel the whole world's kind of changing now with this whole
marijuana.
Yeah, just
I mean, you go down
or
the
apartment
strip.
complex, right?
What's that one state? Is it Oregon?
They have mushrooms too.
Well, no, now it's
Apples,
like they
bananas.
can recreationally use like drugs and they won't get in trouble
Yeah,
for
Is
it.
it Washington or Oregon?
It's
that are
Oregon.
More like pro.
Yeah.
But it's like all
pro-drug?
drugs, though. It's
So
not just
I think
Everyone's
it's
on
definitely
drugs.
mushrooms. They have magic mushrooms you could take in. I think maybe it's Colorado. I think it's Colorado. I could be wrong.
I'm talking about like other drugs. I think they made it okay.
What kind of
Or
drugs?
that you just wouldn't get penalized for if you got caught with it.
I think I heard that too. I think you're right.
Oregon.
What are the drugs? What are the drugs? What are you talking about? Like cocaine or heroin?
Yes, all those things.
I don't know. We're gonna have to send you there to find out. We're gonna have to send you on the problem solver jet to figure out what's going on
I
in
think
those other
it's
states.
Colorado, but I think it's just mushrooms.
We can Google that to find out too.
Let's Google it. Let's talk about
That's
it.
somebody I even knows on TikTok or something.
Okay. All right. So we talked about the gun violence. We talked about New York City being prepared. Here, we're not. Hope maybe with a new regime for Metro, where there's a new sheriff that's going to be coming. I guess maybe they'll take some more action. I think there needs to be more police. I know that police locally here are now going to other states like California, and they're trying to get they call it in the police world, they call it a lateral position. If you're a police officer in another state, you can lateral over. Years ago, 20 years ago that I've been here, Metro had the lateral position. Henderson didn't have it. North Las Vegas, I think they had it. So, but it seems like it's a more of the thing to do because they're looking for other officers that want to move here.
Right.
So they'll probably get more cops with this lateral position,
Right.
but a lot of cops don't like other cops that lateral because it's not like a full academy.
Right.
It's not like you're full-blooded Metro, full-blooded
Right.
Henderson, So it
Like
is
you're
what it is.
still a rookie or something.
No, because if you went through like a full academy, they take it like you went through everything they did. It's kind of a fraternity thing.
Yes, I agree.
Like what would you think? Like if you went through an 8-month academy and some guy comes from Arizona.
Can you cut
To-
the Can
to-
they cut the shit?
In what
We need
regards?
more people. Like, can they cut that shit?
Well, the problem with it is people that are cops, kind of like alpha dogs.
Yes.
They want you to go through like what they went through.
Yes.
So imagine if you went through a 9-month academy and a cop comes from Arizona, you're in Philadelphia, right?
Right.
Pennsylvania. And the guy goes through like 8-week like little class. It's not the same, you would say, right?
I would agree.
Like he doesn't
Yes.
get like, the full culture of
Yes.
the police and stuff like that. Anyway, it's more of a cop thing in general, I guess.
Yeah.
But all right, so let's talk about school violence on the rise. So a lot of things have been happening within the schools locally here in Vegas. I'm sure it's nationwide. I guess you beat a dead horse talking about gun violence, but in Vegas, it just seems like it's either teachers are getting in trouble or the kids are beating up the teachers. It seems a little bit like mayhem. I don't think. What's your take of that?
Well, I think we had a kid. We were talking about this earlier. We had a kid. I think he was 15 or 16. He assaulted a teacher in school this year. I mean, this month, just a couple weeks ago. Have you seen that in the news? He's attempted murder, sexual assault, everything. Did you see that in the news?
I feel like there's been several things going on. Like I'm getting a little bit lost, but I just know there's a lot of activity in the schools.
He's charged with attempted murder against his teacher. And he said he hates all teachers. This is what he said. He actually liked her, but he did this to her for some reason. But a sexual assault, attempted murder, the whole 9 yards.
I just think. I mean, I know there's some behavioral schools too, but
Where was everybody around when this happened? Like,
I
how
know,
did this
that's what
happen?
I think too. I believe it happened right after school. I'm not positive though. Like I think he
And they
had
were
a
alone in the
meeting
school.
with.
She didn't scream. Nobody was around.
Yeah,
They didn't
I
hear.
don't-
Like
I
that's
don't
what's
know.
driving me crazy.
I don't
this
know.
goes back to the same thing we were talking about. Like where's everybody at?
Yep.
well, do you think that there needs to be more? Well, look, people could do violence without a gun or a firearm. Do we need more private security? Inside the schools. I mean,
Yes.
people didn't like the fact that there were cops in the school. There was school police, right? And they're like, we don't want cops in the school. It's intimidating us. What about security?
And
Well, I think there's even a
should
program called
teachers-
dads. There was like a dad program. You have send dads in.
I know.
Do teachers have something like under their desk
No.
just in case something happens, or should they be allowed to?
They should be. I believe teachers should be armed. I don't.
One state was like there was like Arizona
Yeah.
or something like that. Like every teacher was going to be armed
Yes.
and go for training if something happened to take back to schools, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't really know. Everyone's a little bit different with that, and every state's a little bit different too. What'd you think with it? Would you feel better if your kid went to school where all the teachers were armed? Not like on their hip, but like they have a
Concealed.
concealed gun
Yeah.
on them. Would you feel better that your kid went to school like that? By the way, you don't really hear that much with private schools. I don't know if I mean, things happen all over.
Right.
But you always hear the public school. You don't hear like a private school.
Right.
What'd you take on that?
That's-
Patriot, mom, T?
That's true. Well, with the extensive background check, I would say yes.
So at this point in time, would you feel comfortable sending your kid to a school that has private security? What would you rather, police or private security in the school? And they both have firearms. Well, actually, you could say I would want security with no firearms, but then when a guy comes in with a firearm and shoots everybody, you're gonna say, oh, he should have had a firearm. So what's your take? You're a mom.
Either. It's just really scary these days because you don't even know if that type of person is going to be the type of person that's going to end up shooting the place up, you know? So.
What do you mean, the security guard?
Yeah.
I mean, you never know.
Seriously, you just never know these days.
I mean, look, the best thing
crazy.
you're doing a background
right.
check, and you're doing you could do a polygraph, you could do a bunch of different things in general to help make sure that you have the right person there. You never know. People could lose their mind, depending upon what's going on with their situation. So what would you want? Police, security with a gun, police with a gun, security with a gun, teacher with a gun. What do you want?
I think teachers should be safe no matter what.
Does your kid feel safe going to school?
She does.
Okay.
She does. But she is aware of everything that goes on. I'm aware. A lot of people, I think they are trying to homeschool their children because of everything that's going on these days. They actually feel more safe keeping their kids at home rather than sending them out to public schools. I think it all just depends on the children. My child learns best in a classroom, hands-on,
Right.
by other teachers teaching, and it helps her, I would say even just like teamwork, working with others. But that's just something that you worry about on a daily basis, and it's scary.
Yeah.
I do believe that, yes, teachers should have an extensive background check, and they should, if anything should ever happen, like this teacher, she had nothing to protect herself from this boy. You said sexually?
Yeah, that's what they're
assaulted.
saying. Yeah,
That's
and
crazy.
attempted murder.
And attempted
He
murder.
tied a cord around her neck or something.
And she had nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame. Could you imagine being? I think she was a young teacher too.
Was there any
I think
other
her first year or something like that. I hope I'm not wrong, but I think that's
or
what it is.
even when these situations happen in school, and then there's an active shooter on school property. There's not one teacher that has a concealed weapon on them to try to.
Yeah.
I mean, because what was your what was your advice?
It was
earlier?
run, hide, and fight.
Run, hide, and fight. Exactly.
Yes.
So where are the teachers with the weapons to fight?
Right. And you know what? That's the thing, and it's probably Dave too. Now, if I was involved, if I was somewhere where an active shooter happened, if I was by myself, I would probably try to take the shooter out.
Take him down,
Because I have
exactly.
training, Dave has training, I would try. But if I was with my family, it'd be different. I'd get my family out of there. Would you agree, Dave? I would get my family safe and then maybe go back and see if I could help, even though I'm retired.
That makes sense.
It's in my blood to help, so I would probably get my family safe. But if I was alone, I would probably try to take the shooter out if I had my gun on
I think every teacher should have that opportunity,
Right.
in case that should ever happen.
So actually, we have a retired police officer from Henderson. He goes by Hutch. He actually works with some gun places, and he sells firearms, of course, legally in the gun shops. And
Right.
he also works with the Las Vegas Legal Network as the director of investigations. But I just messaged him just to double confirm. He said that you cannot have a CCW and a medical marijuana card, again, because of the whole federal law situation. And he's saying apparently there was a ruling marijuana cards are, I guess, like the HIPAA. So CCW, I guess the whole HIPAA thing, whether they can enforce it or not, because if it's private information. So I guess we got to look into a little bit more, because if
Right.
there's HIPAA, right, and you're not supposed to know my information. So we need to double check on that, some type of ruling with the marijuana cards. But like
That
I
makes
said,
sense.
everything's going to be legal anyway.
If
Right.
it's medical,
Everything's changing all
if
over
it's
the U-
medical,
you know?
then yeah, I would see why that would fall under HIPAA and
Yeah.
et cetera.
But I guess the federal laws say you cannot have a firearm and narcotics on you at the same time or together at any time. So I appreciate Hutch letting us know that information. But I guess it'll be interesting to find out a little bit more of the HIPAA. But I believe everywhere in the United States, they're going to just make marijuana legal anyway. So what does it make a difference with the card, right?
It makes sense.
Federally, right?
Yeah.
All right, so school violence, it is what it is at this point in time. I think you have to educate your children. I talked about today on Channel 8, when it was on TV. You have to educate your kids what to do. And even myself, I think you take it for granted, even though we were cops, that I think you need to sit down, look at your child in the eyes. Hey, if you hear the noise, run the other way. Really prepare yourself. Even if your kid's in elementary school, like, what is a gun violence? What is a gun? Look at your teacher, follow your teacher first. I mean, if I'm talking to my 5-year-old, does she really understand? But I think having the conversation in the beginning so that they know, like, what would you do, or have code words or passwords if you're with them, or, hey, I'm serious. This is a serious conversation. Let's talk about it for 2 minutes. And I think you need to keep bringing it up so that it becomes what we call in the police world. You probably never heard this, Beja, but it's called muscle memory.
Yes.
And what it is that you keep talking about it, it becomes like in the memory that with us, one of the things for police officers, for a shooting or active shooting situation or regular training, they say to shoot center mass twice and then one to the head.
Yeah.
Do you know why that would be? That if you would shoot twice in the chest and then one to the head, do you know why that would be? Like, what would you think? Imagine you're a cop. You don't know this. Why?
I mean, I know from home what I want to do is not shoot them in the chest or the head. I want to not be able to. I want to hurt them enough to where they're.
So you think that
to take them down. But if they're active shooters, then I mean, why not?
So if you have a
I don't know
firearm
why,
and someone
but-
comes into your home, you said you want to just shoot their arm?
Yeah, or their leg to take them down, right? Isn't that what you're supposed to do?
Well, you tell me, what would you do right now? If someone comes into your home, you have a firearm,
Shit,
someone
he's
breaks in
in
the
my
home,
home.
and says, I'm going to kill you, what would you do? You have a firearm in your hand. What do you want to shoot?
I don't know what they teach because I don't have a concealed weapon.
Forget the teaching. What would you do? What do you want to do?
I'd shoot them in the chest probably.
Okay.
So
it's-
why is tell
I'm
me
gonna
why
tell
the
you why.
chest?
Dan, we're going to let Danny Meyer answer.
Tell me.
I'm going to tell you why. And a lot of people, like I've seen the president say this, and it drove me nuts. The president said, why don't we just shoot him in the arm or shoot him in the leg? That is not the biggest target. We are taught to aim at the biggest target because as a police officer, I'm responsible for that bullet. So I'm aiming at your arm, which is a small target, which this area is the big target, right? If I shoot at your arm and miss and I hit an innocent person, I'm in trouble for that. So it's a smaller target. You're less likely to hit it. And center mass is where we're taught because it's the big target where you're going to hit.
Understand.
And the reason we shoot at their chest, and we are taught this, we're taught to shoot 2 in the chest, 1 in the head, because if he doesn't go down after being shot twice in the chest, he has a bulletproof vest on. So then we're shooting in the head.
That makes sense.
Now, a lot of people don't know that, but that's how cops are trained. And cops are trained to shoot until the action stopped and until the suspect is stopped. So when you see, oh my God, they shot him 15 times. You ever see that on the news? They shot him. We are taught that. We are trained that. We are taught to stop the action. It's not TV. You don't shoot somebody and they fall down and die.
Right.
That's TV. That don't happen. You might shoot a guy 8 times and he's not dead. Okay, so we are taught to shoot, to stop the action. That means them fall. They stop what they're doing, whatever. So when a cop shoots somebody 10 times, that's the reason. I know it's crazy, but that's the truth.
No, it's good for everybody to know.
Yeah.
The bottom line is this, is that you mentioned about two shot in the head
Yeah.
with the vest and stuff
Yeah.
like that. People always say, I want to just shoot the person. I mean, when you're going through so much trauma, someone's bringing, I'm going to kill you or something like that. You're not like, let me shoot his arm. To find the body part, and while the guy's moving and running, and you're not an expert shooter, I'm not, right? The center mass, as you mentioned. But again, people that, like this terrorist guy that's on the subway, he's wearing a bulletproof vest. So if you shot him in the chest, he's not going to go down. He may get hurt, he may move, but you're not going to take out the target. The goal is not to actually to make someone die. It really is to stop the threat.
And that's why I said the whole arm, limb, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's really, really important to know that, is that, that's why it's important to basically to go for training. And what I will share with you this, I think that if someone doesn't even want to buy a firearm, they should go through the CCW class so they know what other people are being trained.
Right.
So it's very important because they teach those different things. Like, hey, cop's not going to respond for 15 minutes, what to do. There's a lot of crime prevention information. Actually, I'd like to actually do that with you, maybe to offer a class to people, whether you want the gun or not, of what the training is like.
Yeah.
Because who else is teaching that? The cops are not teaching like a crime prevention class.
They're
It's
not
rare.
teaching it in school.
Once in a while, there's a survival, like a survival class. So long story short, people need to be trained. You need to be aware of your surroundings. You need to talk to your children in general. School, you got to be careful. Again, it's conversation, education. Actually, I'm not sure if you know, my girls, I sent you the video, I think both of you. Chloe and Kyle are 7 and 5. I had them go on TV today talking
So
about
cute.
the active shooter. I wonder what they're going to take. I know it's on, if you guys are listening out there, so it's going to be channel 8. It was actually I think 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and 6 o'clock. So once this is over, channel 8, which is Las Vegas, I think it's KLAS TV. Hopefully, when you get interviewed by the TV, they take like 10, 15 minutes. They literally take like 5 seconds, like you say something.
Right.
So hopefully they get like 5 seconds of Chloe or Kyler saying something in general. And maybe some other kids will see it,
Right.
And I was trying to explain to the kids that you're helping other kids. The kids didn't want to do it.
Right.
I said, look, but you saying like stay away from guns, they may see someone like you and like, wow, this girl's on TV, she's my age. You may actually prevent someone from touching a gun or calling the police. So I was trying to even train them that way, since they see me on TV all the time, so they think it's no big deal.
Right.
Like to them, it's like Dad's always on TV again, or I tell them that the newsman's come, they're like, oh, well, they're here again. They want to film you, Dad, But not that many people are on TV all the time unless you're a news reporter.
Right.
Unless you're the miracle.
Unless you're the miracle.
Unless you're the mirror.
So, all right. So long story short, moving on forward. So talking about security, I really do private security. Like I said, I mentioned, I'm just highly impressed with Protective Force International. I mentioned a few times already, just these guys, if you see them, they're wearing like more green fatigue. They're at the security. I've seen them at the D, and I'm just highly impressed with them. I have no connection with them whatsoever, but I'm just really impressed with them. And when I see them, I think they're kind of hardcore. And I'm like, wow, if I had a property or building or something, like I would want to hire them.
Right.
But anyway, so in regards to more security, I know that the governor now, he's getting more security himself. I don't know how much, there's one guy, how much security does he need? Tell us what happened that day a little bit with the governor, Sisolak.
I believe and listen,
I don't know, why do people hate this guy so much?
I'm not a big fan of him, okay? But people, just because they're politicians, they should be able to go out to eat with their family and not be harassed. I mean, he was out to eat at a restaurant, and I believe a guy threatened to hang him, said that he should be hung. And Metro was investigating, but I did look it up before we got on air. The governor did not want the guy arrested. So the governor...
Oh, he didn't want him?
Yeah, he chose not to have him arrested. The guy did make a threat while he was out at a restaurant.
Did you see that? I saw the video. Did you see it?
No. Was it bad?
I mean, basically, he's just kind of chasing the guy. He's very vocal, but he says something like, I would hang you or something. He said, I would, and then his daughter comes out in general. And he was just kind of following him in general. I felt that the police would submit a warrant, whether it gets approved or not,
right,
for like threats or harassment.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that. He said he wouldn't press charges?
I just read today. That's okay. What I looked, but I'm not sure if he changed his mind. But, the governor should be able to go out to eat and not be harassed. And I agree. The guy should be arrested. I mean, he really should. The governor should not have to be harassed. Did you do any of that? I actually guarded a bunch of politicians where I was because I was in the capital of Pennsylvania. So I got to guard Joe Biden. I guarded Hillary Clinton, Obama. I guarded Ben Affleck. Really? Different people that I got to. So I'm familiar with how the Secret Service does that. So I'm assuming they do the same thing with the governor.
I guess it's just like I said. So what's your reason why? I mean, people thought because of the whole mask thing. Like, what's your reason why people dislike him? Don't you feel like most politicians are just disliked in general?
Yeah. If you're a politician, I think I said this on talking about videos, but if 52% of the people are going to like you, 48% of the people are going to hate you. Mm-hmm. That's just the way it is, and you're going to get elected. So you're going to have half the population hate you. I mean, it's just the way it is. You can be the best politician in the world, people are still going to hate you. I didn't like the mask mandates. Even though I did get vaccinated and boosted, I wasn't a big fan of. My thing is, let people choose what they want. You want to wear a mask, you wear it. If you don't want to wear one, wear it. You want to get vaccinated, fine. You don't want to get vaccinated, fine. That's how I was. Whatever you want to do, you choose to do. I didn't like them because of the mask mandates.
All right. So in regards to the security, the bottom line is it seems like everyone's going with more security these days. So
right.
So maybe Protective Force needs to start protecting Governor Sisolak in general, just because he needs some extra protection. It's a lot of police officers like really surrounding this governor.
Right.
You would think he's the president of the United States. A lot, if you
There's
think about
state
the salary,
police. Who guards
it's Nevada Highway. Well, now it's Nevada State Police.
Okay, because that's how it was.
It used to be Nevada Highway Patrol. Now it's Nevada State Police. Did you know it changed?
Yeah, I did know it changed. Pennsylvania did the same thing. The state police guarded the governor in Pennsylvania too.
Okay, so one of the last things I wanted to bring up is, people say all the time, or the other day I was at lunch, my good friend Leslie, we were at lunch, we went for some Italian food.
I know Leslie.
You know Leslie.
Yes.
We talk about you. And she breaks out, she's got this little taser, right?
Okay.
She got it from your friend. So long story short, she takes out the taser and she wants to show the taser, at lunch. I'm like, hey, don't, put it, So she throws it, into her purse, whatever, And I'm explaining to her, you need to prepare. If you're really going to use that, going through your bag and trying to find it that's in your secure holder. Are you training for it? Are you practicing, for it in general? And of course she's not.
Right.
She just throws it in her purse, mixed up with the gum and stuff like that.
Right.
That she's got in there. What's your take in regards to pepper spray, taser, and guns? I'm going to actually ask Beja first to see what it takes, since she's a female. What's your thoughts in regards to carrying any of these items? If you want to talk about, do you carry any of these items? Do you believe in any of these items? What's your take on that? And then I actually want Danny to share his opinion. I'll share my opinion just for the public, just because we all have different thoughts.
I carry
in the public
set in my purse, in my car,
what do you carry?
At home.
What's that?
Just pepper spray.
Pepper spray.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then a little weapon that just in case I have to.
She's like multiple weapons. She's like Batwoman. She's like, well, it depends upon the situation. I got my pepper spray. I got this little what do you call those Kubotans back in the day?
Oh, you remember them things?
Those
yeah,
Kubotans?
I know what you mean. Yeah,
it's big in Pennsylvania.
Yes,
like the whole ninja stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chuck Norris Kubotan or something like that.
Little butterfly.
So basically, you have a little bit of pepper spray. So here's a good question for you: when's the last time did you check that pepper spray if it's still good? Because I think it's only good for 6 months or a year.
I actually did not know that it expired.
So it does expire. I believe it's yearly.
You have to shake it too.
So you've been carrying that thing since 1986.
Yeah.
You're only okay.
Do I
So
look like I was
No,
born
I'm
in
joking.
1986?
how long have you had it?
I've had mine probably for about 2 years.
2 years. So it's got to be expired.
And before that, I've had others.
I think it's like
And then-
every
and
6
then the
months
thing
to a
with
year,
my
probably shaking
taser-
it up, right?
You're supposed to
Mixing-
shake it up, yeah.
And with your taser, you've got to constantly be charging it
Yeah.
as well.
What kind of taser do you have?
Shoot.
Is it?
Am I
Is
supposed to
it?
tell you the brand?
But is it a taser?
Well,
like-
there's one that's got a flashlight attached to it. You know, it's a little smaller.
Is the one that actually shoots on you,
And then
then
there's one that's
or is it a stun gun? There's stun gun and there's taser.
gun. Yes. So I don't have a taser that shoots
Okay.
out. I should probably get one of those.
Okay, we need to equip her. We need to get like a problem solving
Yeah.
belt. She got like
me
a taser.
up.
She got like a gun, pink gun, right? What's your take for
I don't
people?
like
Pepper
pink.
spray, taser, and gun. Tell me your take.
I would recommend pepper spray instead of the taser. The taser, you have to get up close. You know what I mean? You got to get up close to the person to tase them. Pepper spray, you shoot them 12 feet away. You know what I mean? They taught us how to shoot it like this, right? I've been pepper sprayed 3 times in my life. Twice through training. Once we were fighting a guy, and one of the cops pepper sprayed me by accident.
instead of the-
Yes, he pepper sprayed me by accident. But pepper spray works. I would recommend carrying the pepper spray. I think you're doing good with that. I would recommend my daughters, my girlfriend, all of them carry pepper spray. I know my girlfriend, when she carries her key, she always carries the one key in between her fingers in case she has to hit somebody with it. She's always watching her surroundings, but she's always prepared too. So it's scary, but you got to be prepared nowadays. So I think you're right by keeping the pepper spray on you. I'm all for it.
I really believe we need to make a problem solver belt. That
Yes.
it's like equipped with things, like if you're at home, you like a flashlight.
He didn't hear anything right now. He was just thinking of like how he was gonna
Crime
make that
prevention.
belt.
Yes.
A crime prevention belt.
Yes.
Problem solver crime prevention belt. And we give it away free like once a month. We're like, you got a
wins
crime
the belt?
solver, a crime solver belt.
Enter the raffle.
Yes.
All right, so here's my take. Okay, so first of all, I saw some girl on TikTok or online. She's got this pink Glock. Now, the problem with the pink Glock in the situation, my take is, if something happens and the girl pulls out a pink Glock, which fine, she looks nice and sexy with this pink Glock, is that if you pull out the gun and you describe the pink gun, when you tell the cop, it's going to be like it's more clear the elements that she took out the gun because it's pink. It's very unusual. But if you take out a black gun and it's nighttime, first of all, it's more likely you can conceal it because it's a black firearm. And if I want to point it at you and you don't really know,
It draws too much attention.
it's too much attention. So I always believe in the black gun, nothing fancy, because you could always say technically to protect yourself, like my gun was not out, that it could have been anything because it's dark, right? So you want to kind of conceal the firearm.
Right.
When you have pink or blue or green, it's more likely he's got a blue gun. And when the cop asks you what kind of gun you got, you're like, I got a blue neon gun.
Right.
So like it confirms that the other person saw the gun.
Right.
Sometimes you're pointing at a gun just for safety wise, as long as your finger's off the trigger, you're not shooting anybody. The truth is you may want to have it up and ready just in case. You could be walking to your car and just have it kind of by your stomach, kind of what they call in the police world low ready, and then have it downwards, and then no one's going to really see it.
Right.
But if you walk around with a hot pink gun, right, because you want to be kind of really ready and available, ready to go if someone attacks you. So I don't believe in these hot colors. And the other situation is with pepper spray. Unless you're training in general, you got to be close by someone to really spray.
12
And-
feet.
12 feet. But also you got to find it unless when you walk
And
to
it
the
can't
car.
be windy.
Yeah, because it's going to go into your face, right?
Yes. Yes.
So the problem with it is that you have to be very close to somebody, even 12 feet, and then you also have to take it out of your, whether your purse or whatever it may be. Searching for it. So if you're gonna use pepper spray, when you walk from the grocery store to your car, have it ready to go.
Yep.
And also, using your eyes is more of a weapon. When you go to your car, maybe you take it's called slicing the pie, where you look at the full car, make sure no one's hiding by your passenger side or in front of your car. So take like a deeper circle around the car to make sure that it's clear. Now also, having your panic button alarm before you go to the car, maybe someone's watching you, from a distance, I would turn the panic alarm button on, let the alarm go for a little bit so that if someone's there, it may spook them or prevent them, because what you're doing is you're getting attention to
Right.
to your car.
Vehicle.
So maybe someone's like, oh, this isn't the time I'm going to do something, right?
Right.
So creating that noise is good. Actually, literally walking up to your car with the noise going may be a good situation. But these days, a lot of people hear alarms all the time and they don't
Think anything.
think
of it.
anything of it. But I think it's better than nothing in general. So I'm actually for it. So that in regards to, just trying to look up one thing real quickly here. All right, so that's pepper spray. The next thing is the taser. What I feel is the following, that a lot of people don't or may not want to use a firearm, right? So, but a taser would help the situation. And a lot of times you can change out the cartridge with the tasers. And then with the taser, you're not killing somebody. So God forbid you really mess up, right? You shoot somebody that's like the mailman or something, you know? At least you're not really killing the guy. The guy's on the floor. It's not as bad of a situation. But I believe these days you really should have a taser plus a firearm. Because a lot of times you can use the taser, and if you're not totally sure something happens, you have it with you. And then you have to divert to the firearm. You have the firearm for deadly force. So these days, I think people need non-lethal and then lethal. And I like the fact, actually, even with the non-lethal, they sell it in black as well. So if you want to take your non-lethal taser and walk to the car with your taser out, you can walk by your side. There's nothing wrong with it as long as you're not really pointing at somebody or committing a crime. So the bottom line is, I think that you need to train with it as well, like walk to your car or, you know, do some things to be more tactful, you know, for tactics wise, just to be prepared. But I do think that the taser and the firearm, having both ready to go, not in your purse, especially if it's late at night and it's dark, you want to actually use these crime prevention tactics. And you can buy the same tasers that police have, where it's those cartridges. I don't believe in the stun guns because you got to be too close to the person. With the taser gun, like if you're further away, like get away from my car, right? You have the taser out, or you could train that the taser is your left hand if you're a righty. The taser could be in your left hand, and your firearms in the right hand, which police are basically trained that way. So I think that regular people should be trained that way too. What's your take with any of my thoughts?
Yeah, the only other thing it came to my mind that's very huge. Say you didn't have a pepper spray on you, say you didn't have a gun on you, and a guy says, "Get in a car, drive me somewhere." What do you do? Guy says to you, "Get in a car, drive me somewhere."
What do you do?
I'm going to tell you what you should do. And a lot of people cringe when I say this, but it's the truth. They are not taking you to a good place. They are not taking you around the block to drop you off. They are taking you and you are not coming back. So the only chance you have is right then and there. You lay on the ground, say, "I'm having a heart attack," start screaming, start yelling. If they get you in the car and put a gun to you and say, "Drive," you hit the first car you see. Now, don't run a kid over or something, but run into parked vehicles. You could say you're sorry later. You got to draw attention to yourself. And that brought me to Dave's point. Draw attention to yourself. Never go with the person. You are not going to survive that. Your chances of going with somebody and surviving are about 1%, 0.5%. You need to fight right then and there. Fight and scream, "I'm having a heart attack." They're not going to kill you right there. That's why they want to take you somewhere else. That's your only shot.
I love the running into somebody else.
You got to run into a car.
By the way, I know that we're going to be finishing up in a quick minute. Chase, I sent you a text message that I was on Channel 8. Is there any way of taking that link to play that real quickly? I figured it just came to me by a friend. This was the news that was on Channel 8. Do you need 2 minutes for that? Or take 2 minutes while we finish up. We'll play that at the end just to see how I did or what statement they use. I haven't seen it yet. Or my kids. On Channel 8, it's keeping families safe, gun storage and safety tips. Let's see if Chase can roll that from Channel 8 that just came out at 5 o'clock, and then we can wrap up with that one. So are there any other thoughts as we wrap up? I think we talked about a lot of good topics. I think, as we know that we do the podcast on Thursdays at 4:30. We do the show Tuesdays, 6 o'clock on Cox and Channel 14. I think probably this is a good topic, maybe that we decide which avenues that we can talk about. I think a lot of it's the safety, the pepper spray, the taser, all that stuff that we could talk about, that stuff on Channel 14 to get out to more people.
Right.
And but there's a lot of things going on. We talked about active shooter, in Vegas, being prepared, school violence on the rise. We talked about more security, for the governor. Everyone's going to private security these days. I think that's the future, is private security, and then pepper spray, taser, and a gun. Which one you're going to use to protect your family. And one last thing I'll share with you. I think a lot of people want to buy these different tools. I think it's very important to make your home more of a fortress, not to scare people out there. Using security laminate, which is filming on your windows, extra 3-inch screws on the door, on the strike plates. Lighting your home, the front, the sides, and the back. The gates, whether locked, shrubbery being short so people can't hide. I mean, you could do things that are not, as extreme as a pepper spray and taser. These are last resorts. But the truth is, depending where you live and things that have taken place, you may want to be more prepared. Just in general, I think preparation is key. Even communicating and educating with your kids about gun violence and what to do in school. I know after myself, because of this incident and being on TV today, I'm going to talk to the kids a little bit more often. I think I myself forgot that they're getting a little bit older, that these are good topics. So I hope people that are listening talk about this stuff in general. Any last remaining thoughts?
No, I think this is a great topic. I think it's a topic that people want to know, especially with the active shooters. They're continuing, and people need to be safe, and crime prevention is huge. You can keep yourself safe by doing a couple little things.
Right. Preventative measures.
Yeah.
Chase, how are we looking to play it?
I'm not seeing a video here. I'm just seeing the article.
Maybe it didn't pop up yet. Maybe the video. Let's see here. Continue reading. Maybe it didn't. Maybe it doesn't show yet.
I'd say just maybe like post it on your Facebook.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. So I will post the clip. Just want to see one thing here. Just to see it here. The situation was talking about. I guess the video doesn't pop up here. Let's see. Nothing yet here. I guess I'll post it on the comments. Let's see here real quick. Okay. All right, so we'll just post in the comments. I thought it'd be cool to pop it up, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it right now. All right, so anyway, I'm David Kohlmeyer. I appreciate, again, Beija, my co-host, doing an awesome job helping co-host and asking me questions. She's always wanted to say, let's talk about it, which is our hashtag. Our hashtag now is let's talk about it. I think we have to do co-host and then put hashtag let's talk about it for the future. And then again, Danny, it's great. You have, tons of experience, different perspectives sometimes. Even myself, I was a cop for 17, minus 10 from you. So we have something in common there. So I think it's great having you on the show, your perspective in general.
Yes.
So I'm always glad to have you come on the show and kind of share your wisdom.
Thanks.
Again, you can follow Danny on, so what is it again? On TikTok?
TikTok, at the Miracle 35.
At the Miracle 35, he has about like 55,000. How many people following you now? 43,000. The goal.
He had more.
I had more. I lost some.
You lost some?
Yeah.
So the goal
Trump
is
viewers.
we're in April. By July 1st, he needs 100,000 followers.
Yes.
So that's
get
the
him
goal.
up there.
Yes.
So the Miracle 35.
No
And then,
sensitive people.
Yes.
and then the Problem Solver, I'm on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram again. Real quickly, if you were to maybe show the problemsolver.vegas, which is the progressive web app where you're looking for different resources. Real quickly, if you're watching on your screen there, if you got a problem, we'll also help supporting Ukraine. There's 2 nonprofits that are connected. If you got a problem, you click on the button, share what your problem is. If you've been in an accident, injured. While I'm here, sometimes I'm looking at my phone. Someone just got into an accident, was asking for some help. Someone today had an HOA problem. The HOA board member was like chasing them around and sending in HOA stuff, So I forgot what else they. Someone just asked me for help. They needed a record seal. So I'm always getting people that message me for the Problem Solve, which is great. I love helping. I always tell people, text me, call me. I'm not charging any money to help people. I think it's great to have any retired cop, that you could text at 3 a.m. and say, hey, what should I do? Again, I'm just giving my background and experience to help people. But again, the problemsolver.vegas is a progressive web app. Add it to your home screen. Click the button. I'm on the home screen. You can text me. You can call me. The number is 702-999-1111. That number is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If I can't solve your problem, someone like Beija who can help or someone like Danny can help. We all have a lot of expertise and we have a lot of connections, whether it's the legal or medical or law enforcement background and people work that we trust, that we would recommend, that are great people. So again, go to the problemsolver.vegas. And if you need help, we're here for you. Again, as a retired police officer, my goal is to help people every single week. We will see you Thursdays at 4:30 live for the 1 hour podcast. And then Tuesdays, Channel 14, talking about a specific community problem on Channel 14, which is Cox Cable. So thanks so much for joining us today. And we'll see you next week. Stay safe.